I am Ann-Peggy Divine. Welcome to the Divine Design, the podcast where we unfold heaven on earth and reframe spirituality and theology for a new cosmic era. Your journey on human evolution and integration of your divine design starts here. Now, before you jump into this episode, if this conversation resonates with you, please like, subscribe, and share this with whoever you feel that needs to hear it. Together, your support helps us sustain this work, bringing transformational wisdom into the world and nurturing the awakening of our shared foundation, Mother Earth. Thank you very much. Welcome, Richard Barrett, once more to this Divine Design podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be with you, especially on today when you saw the sun.
For the first time this year, yes.
Yeah, well, that makes you very joyful, I can see.
Yeah, it was very emotional, actually.
Yeah.
When I went up, because I was hiking for 2.5 hours,
Wow.
I started to cry. It was like, wow, is this so big? And like, yes, it is. I have longed to see the sun. So I was so happy, even though it was very windy on the top of the mountain. Yeah. So I'm so happy today. I have seen the sun. It's back.
Yeah. Yes, you're living on planet Earth and
Yes. Yeah. And actually, I love living in Arctic. Actually, it's fresh. Everything is crystalline. And this is kind of direct into the topic, because Norway actually when I channel nation, I put them into matrices. So it is 13 matrices on Earth, and Norway has the top. It is kind of the luminous freshness. And yes, it is cold. Yes, it is a lot of snow. It is -30. It is the dark period. But the dark period, what it actually does, I didn't thought about it when I was younger. It forces us into the inner us. So we the shadow side comes out easily, because when you are in the sun, it's so in the comfort zone, you don't need to go inward to okay, where is my shadow side?
Right.
So it is a lot of benefits living here, and the last 3-4 months, I have communicated even longer, but particularly now in the dark period, I have communicated a lot with the moon, because the moon is like the sun for us. It is the reflection of the sun.
Yeah. Right, and it's visible for a longer part of the day.
All day. It is 24/7.
Yeah.
So today, when I was up in the sun, I saw the sun there and the moon. So we see the sun and the moon together. So we are familiar to see the moon 24/7. This is what we do.
Yeah.
And in summertime, we see the sun 24/7 because it doesn't go down. So I know that for someone it's like, what a strange system. But this is the way it is to live this far north.
Yeah, I know. I've been there. I went fishing there once in the summer, and I couldn't get used to the fact that it never got dark. I mean, it was dusk, but it was never really dark. So yeah, I had to put a mask on to sleep so that I could. I've also been in your area in the winter too, so I know what it's like.
And we have a lot of northern light.
Yeah, good for you. I've never seen the Northern Lights. Not that I remember, anyhow.
Yeah, I see that you channel also nations a lot, and I was hoping that we could talk about nations, and you have done it for several years. And when I spoke to you last for some days ago, you have kind of a direct connection to the source. You channel through the source. And the way I channel is I like to do it the more feminine way. So I feel it in my body. So I take it into my body and I feel everything.
Yeah.
So maybe, yeah, I don't know. I was talking about England or the United Kingdom and the consciousness of that, because that was really hard on my body.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. There's a lot of shadow there.
A lot of shadow. I actually channel it for a week and I get sick, and three different people came to me, new people, and they holded this violence. And actually when I channeled the text, it was on a boat, and it was so perfect with, because you know United Kingdom or the Great Britain has conquered so many. So when I channel it on the boat, it was very hard weather, so everywhere it was chaos. So it was, yeah, this is Great Britain making a lot of turmoil in so many countries.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah, that empire was very large and quite destructive in many places.
Yes, it was.
So, where shall we start? I was thinking about Norway as a place to start.
Yep, it is. It's better to be in the Norwegian consciousness than the UK consciousness.
Well,
But we have shadows as well.
you do indeed. You do indeed. You know, I wrote about that in my book, The Silent Soul of the North. But yeah, that's right. So let me just back off a little bit and tell you about the idea that I have for this work. And I call it the triadic model. Triadic model. Triadic means three parts, okay? And the three parts are, well, every nation. Well, this applies to individuals, organizations, and nations, but I'll talk about nations first. Every nation has a soul, and it has essences and qualities, and every nation has some shadow from its past that it hasn't integrated. And
Yep.
then every nation has a government. So these are the three aspects. So actually the role of the government should be to integrate the shadow, to release all of the soul gifts. So that's the model, okay? And so for Norway, it's interesting what you said earlier, because I've got a few notes here, but I the soul of Norway is really it's very interesting. Where was I? Oh, I was looking at the United States. Oh, here we are, the soul of Norway. Stewardship rather than ownership. Equality as dignity, not sameness. Intimacy with nature, which you've already just talked about, as a moral compass. And collective responsibility without coercion. So you have a collective, you don't have to force people. Now, the shadow aspect of Norway is interesting because you just displayed part of it a few moments ago. Emotional reserve mistaken for maturity. That's not what you did. Conflict avoidance disguised as harmony. Moral superiority rooted in being one of the best societies, which is what you modeled. And difficulty naming power, privilege, or exclusion. So these are, but I agree with you. And in my reading, Norway is one of the most advanced in terms of integrating shadow and in terms of consciousness. Now, but there remains still quite a lot to do, and for the government, because the government really excels in administration, but struggles with meaning. It manages risk effectively, but avoids deeper cultural conversations. maintains consensus while supporting creative tension, and protects stability while under engaging the soul. So that's what I wrote about in The Silent Soul of the North. It's like, okay, so now for the Nordic nations, it's time to open up a bit and find ways of connecting with each other where you no longer protecting the emotions. So this is key. However, I come back to the point that Norway, well, the Nordic nations are amongst the most advanced in this triadic model. But if you want to see something that's really different, I can talk about the USA, but let's talk about that later. Let me ask you your questions or anything, that comments you might have. Is that more or less right, what I said?
Yeah, I haven't channeled Norway for a reason. I didn't want to channel my own country at the first, so I just sense this. I live here, but I haven't channeled it, and I do it almost the same as you. And I channel the name of the soul, what it holds. And I haven't channeled Norway, but I have channeled Great Britain, and it was derivation. So your country's soul, kind of what it holds, is derivation because it has kind of been so much out there. So I see that I didn't know that you had that tree. I do the same because also shadow, as you say, and there are something that is easier to do in a country and it's more shadow. So everything you say, I agree totally.
Yep. So yeah, I just been this idea of the triadic model came to me only a few months ago, actually, and I've been exploring it. And just this last week, I actually been saying, well, how can I use this model for individuals and for organizations? Because it's completely scalable. Because individuals have a soul, individuals have a shadow, and individuals have an organizing mind, which can illuminate the shadow and bring the shadow, integrate the shadow, and move more towards the gifts of the soul. So
Yeah.
same in organization. So this last week, that's what I've been exploring, how to put that into some sort of well, to have the model, but how to make it practical
Yeah.
for individuals, organizations, and nations. And that's what I've been working on.
It's interesting that you say that because I have written 3 books, but I haven't written them. I have birthed them because it was I opened up the moon. All of them was in full moon ceremony. So one came and the next full moon and the next full moon. And it is a triad. I didn't know when the first came. And the first was the architecture of light. So it was kind of the cosmos, describing cosmos and the universe. And the next was the architecture of future medicine. And the last one that came was the architecture of the living ethos. Not as moral, not as ethic, but ethos as how to live, because we know we don't need structure, we don't need doctrine, we are in relationship to all life.
So talk to me more about those books. I find them very interesting.
Yeah, the architecture of light, it describes cosmology and field structure. And what the universe is made of, light, frequency, resonance, and provide kind of the ontological framework. What reality is before the human.
Yeah, well, that's really totally aligned with what I've been working on too. Yeah, and writing about.
Wow, yeah. And then the second was the architecture of future medicine, and that one describes how the architecture express itself biologically. Regulation, coherence, system, and matrices in the body. So it provides a biological and medical framework. It's like how the architecture lives in the body.
Right. Yep.
And the last one, the architecture of the living ethos, describes how the architecture is lived. Relation, ethics, responsibility, illness as initiation, and stewardship, as you mentioned Norway and stewardship. So And it provides an existential and practical framework, how the architecture is lived in everyday life, in choice, and in society.
Well, that's amazing because you're using all the words that I've been using too. And so, the source is obviously the same. Because,
Yes.
I talk about the architecture too, the architecture of the new human, the architecture of the new society, the architecture of the new organization. Yeah, that's what I talk about too. And and I also talk about medicine, not so much medicine, but illness. And in one of my books, I talk about I call it healing the body, healing the soul, uh, because it's really about uh, how the body reflects the energy field of the human being, and as you as you heal the energy field, you actually heal the body at the same time. So our paths are so similar, and the source is so similar. I'm pretty amazed.
Yes, and I speak a lot about what you call new human, but I call it homo luminous. So I talk almost every video and everything I make now is like homo luminous, homo luminous. So because I have become homo luminous, you are probably also homo luminous, and I guide mothers that have birthed homo luminous because there are a lot of new children that are carrying the newness. They don't have to go through all the garbage and all the shadow side. So I am guiding and helping them to, because their children is different, they don't fit into the old system, they become sick in this system. So this is fascinating because as mother we are kind of holders, we are in the 0 point where all creation come from. We are supposed to be holders, but we have learned that we have to push them to into the old system, and then they become sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So that was one of the first books I channeled about a year ago. Well, turned out to be 5 books, called the Cosmic Handbook, where it's in 5 sections from the moment of conception to 8 years of age, then from to 7, from 8 years to 21, from 22 to 40, from 41 to 60, and from 61 to old age. So these are 5 books where for every year there is a passage, 3 or 4 pages, about what are the challenges of that particular year to life. And I have quite a lot of young friends, and interestingly, some of those young friends have become pregnant in the last year. And so I've been sending them this book,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
the first book, which is called Origins. And so it's really about how they care for themselves and their unborn child, and how they care during the first 7 years of life. So I, I think you approach the same topic just from a slightly different perspective, but it's the same work
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, that's what I also remember. Wow, we are doing the same. I do it a little bit more feminine, but I am a woman, so I had to do it this way. We are born into men and women for a reason. So yeah,
Yeah, right. So yeah, obviously I'm a man, but when I look back for 50 years, I was an engineer. So I had that engineering thinking about structures and how things fit together, and that has been hugely helpful for me in my second part of my life in dealing with consciousness, because for many people, consciousness is pretty unstructured, but actually there is a beautiful structure around consciousness and how it evolves. And I remember I didn't realize it at the time, but it was like 5 or 6 years ago. I channeled a book. I didn't know I was channeling it. I was just working on it,
yeah,
and it was I call it the algorithm for conscious evolution. And it turned out to be, again, one of those things that applies to everything. That the first thing that any living entity has to do is to become viable and independent in our framework of existence. And then, in order to evolve, when things get difficult, that entity then bonds with other entities to create a more coherent and a more resilient group structure. And then the next stage is these group structures then, as things get difficult, these group structures then cooperate with each other to create a higher order entity. And this maps the evolution of everything from the Big Bang to the present day, including it applies to atoms and particles and atoms and molecules and creatures. And you see these three same stages all the way, and it also now applies to nations. And so there are these patterns or these how kind of aspect structures of universal consciousness that we just have to discover them.
Yeah.
And then try to live by them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm beginning to understand about this triadic model, is that it's universal. It applies to individuals, organizations, and nations. And it's the same thing, because all of these have a soul, everything has a shadow, and everything has a governance. And how do you bring those three together? That's the question.
Yeah, and I do a lot of regression therapy. I'm a therapist, so when I do, I hold the space, and then they go through all this life. They kind of zero it out, and then they are in other spaces, and they feel like it is in the here and now, and then we just take that one also. So it is kind of what I do. I do regression, and then they come to the 0 point in themselves. And this is where you and we say, oh, we do the same. When we are in this point, we can do whatever we want, because we are in the 0 point, in the void, in the whatever we call it. And you and me are interested in the same thing, so that's why we also do the same. But we have all the resources. We are kind of in, we know that we are field. We are field more than just a physical body.
Absolutely. And interestingly, again, if I go back 30 or 40 years ago, I used to do hypnotherapy and regression too.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't done it in a long time, but I used to do that. So yeah, we are on a very, very similar path, and we are actually in a very similar place.
Yeah.
Because I consider myself to be nothing, and the nothing gives me access to everything.
Yeah.
Because
That's true.
Because there's no role. I'm not pretending. There's nothing I have to do, nothing I have to achieve, no role. I'm just nothing. And I've written a book called Nothing, by the way. And and it's when you get to that nothing, it's like you open up to the universal intelligence, and it can flow through you.
Yeah.
And that's what you're an example of, and I am too.
Yeah, and my daughter a month ago asked me, Mother, are you really happy? Because I know past life you struggle. Say, yes, I struggle. I have lived with a pain body, but I really love life.
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing. You see, you do have to struggle, but you have to integrate all of that, because being alive, truly alive, is the important thing. And if you're truly alive, it's not like you're living in some nirvana. You're living in this world where there are struggles, there are emotions, there are feelings, and they're telling you a story, but that's the human condition. So it's not like you're living in some wonderful, peaceful place, because if you're a human being, you're definitely going to have to deal with all this stuff.
Yeah, and
So
when
how you deal with it, that's the thing.
Yeah, and I know how to kind of transform it, and that's why it is easy for me to channel a nation. At the same time, it can be hard on my body, because it is several nations that have made me sick, because the system, when I go into the consciousness, it happened in seconds. There I am, and it's like, oh, I feel it in my body, all what this country holds. So the shadows and the soul, kind of. So, and sometimes the shadow is so intense. So like for Great Britain, and I used 1 week because this was huge. So I could be, no, I don't want to go into that, but I know how to transform it. So me channeling, I also help the consciousness of that country because I activate the soul. And I know when we look now in 2026, we see so much happening. We see that the shadow coming up. So it is a lot of people walking deep now.
Yeah, and and nowhere do we see it more applied than in the United States, frankly. You know, Donald Trump is the shadow of the United States right in your face.
Yep, he is.
He's completely, he's like, it's like if you want to look for the shadow of the USA, it's right there. And that has to be integrated somehow. And that's the challenge, the beautiful challenge that Donald Trump brings, because now the United States, in order to deal with him, they have to integrate their shadow.
Yeah.
And they can see it's right in front of their face. It's like here, it's right there now. I mean, this is a country that was born on the basis of freedom,
Yep.
first, right? And yet they've enslaved just about everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like there's a lot of shadow in the United States, which is like, it's actually in a very decisive moment. It's painful for people. You can't get away from that. But it's like pointing to them to, well, what do we need to do to integrate this? Because this is not what we want. So it's right there now. It's almost like you saying, well, you got into the shadow of the United Kingdom and it made you ill.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
well, but this is happening at a national scale in the USA right now. Also in Iran, by the way.
Yes, I channel Iran and I went sick for 4 days.
Yeah, my hairdresser is from Iran, and we have these conversations every time I get my hair cut. She's like, "Oh, and the people who live in the basement of our, oh no, in the ground floor of our building, they're from Iran too, and they're really they're feeling it."
Yeah,
This,
they feel it. Yeah, because they are into that consciousness, so they feel it. Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
But I know that what's happening in Iran, it is actually a wave that have started. It started in 2023, but it started before it. But um, the girl that died first of this wave, she became a symbol. And now there was another wave, and now they try. It's like they have a hold on it. But this wave, it will actually succeed. The women will rise. When the women stand up and go together, there are no force that can hold them down. So I know that they will rise, but it is all about timing. But they need our help, and all of us can help Iran. So it is also to be more conscious about, because there is so many things going on, like Greenland, like Trump say he want to take Greenland, and a lot of things. But actually, the main thing, the most important thing that is happening, if we see the whole world as a whole, it is what is happening in Iran. Because this is standing up for our life force to being human.
Well, I would go further. The future is feminine.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the future is feminine, and this is where it's playing out
Yep.
in Iran
Yep.
and all throughout the Middle East, actually.
Yeah, yeah. When I channel it, it was so. This is the most important, and now when we talk about it, I feel it. It's almost like I want to cry because yeah, yeah. It is. It is big. It is big. It is not only. It is not only Iran. It is all women. It is actually humanity.
Mm. Yeah, but it is humanity, obviously. But see, there's the shadow again at the human at the humanity level is like the shadow of the female aspect is still needs to be integrated, because for 4,000 years now, women have been had a very raw deal
Yeah.
because of this uh, male dominance,
Mm.
which started, well, more than four now, about 6,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now was the time to come out of that. Now we need to reintegrate all of that. And so we're living in very interesting times. And I think that personally, over the next 10 years, we're going to see quite an interesting consciousness evolution.
Yep. Yep. We are in the midst of it almost. Yep.
We are in the midst of it, and it's very painful.
It is painful. And you mentioned, yeah.
Go ahead.
You mentioned something, I think it's interesting because you said Trump is mirror on the shadow side of United States. And actually the governments, if you look at the governments all around the world, they are most often holding the shadow side of this.
Yep.
You have heard about Jens Stoltenberg. He has been in the NATO. And he's a famous man that have been in the government for all his life, because his father also was Thorvald Stoltenberg.
No, I'm not heard of this person.
Okay, a lot of people know who Jens Stoltenberg is, and he really carry the shadow. And he is so, when he talk, he is so pleasant and he is so kind of diplomatic, but if you read energy, you understand that it is so much shadow. So yes, he has been taught into this program because his father was a prime minister. He has been a prime minister and he has been a leader in NATO for, I think it is for 10 years. So he is born into this system. So he is this system. And he has learned how to embody the shadow side so well. But yeah.
To disguise it.
Yeah, to disguise it.
Yeah, right. So where are we going from here, my dear friend?
Yeah, into the future. How have you seen the future? I imagine you also have been into the future.
Well, I every month I channel a document called The Pulse of the World, and where I connect with the one mind and I get an update on the state of the world. And so I've been doing that for 5 months now, and I put that into my Substack, so you can read that, and I sometimes put it on LinkedIn. So that gives me an insight into the present moment and the direction of evolution of what's going on.
Yeah.
And also occasionally, and there was one moment about 3 or 4 months ago, I got a huge download where the one mind was actually explaining to me what I would be doing for the next 15 years. Now, I'm rather glad they put that timeline on it because I'm now 80, so that means I'm going to be around for another 15 years. But actually, the instruction was to build this consciousness cosmology that we're talking about in such a way that it becomes available to people as they move through this passage of transition. And so we're not going to adopt the old structures. We're going to invent something completely new. And that, I understand, is part of my role.
Me too, so it's not a coincidence that we sit here.
No. And I can go even further back than that. Go back to 25, 30 years ago. I was still at the World Bank as an engineer, but I'd already started in my private life doing this sort of work of consciousness, spirituality, etc. And one weekend I was doing a workshop in Boulder, Colorado, called Finding Your Mission in Life. And I was working at the World Bank during the week, but I went off and did this at the weekend. And on the second day of the workshop, one of the people said, well, okay, you've been talking about finding our mission, but what is your mission? And I had a very well rehearsed affirmation, which was, I'm an internationally recognized speaker and author on personal and organizational transformation. That was my
Line.
But when he asked the question, I couldn't remember those words. I couldn't remember the words. And so I just said, hang on a minute. So I closed my eyes and went inside And out of my mouth came the words, I'm an architect of global transformation. That came out of my mouth. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. I've never said those words before. And I'd just written a book called A Guide to Liberating Your Soul. It was my first book. And I thought, wow, that's my soul speaking. I'm an
Yeah.
architect of global transformation. In the last year or two, that's exactly the words that have been coming, and the work that I've been doing is the architecture work for the future civilization. That's the work I'm doing. And it was already there, locked inside me 35 years ago. And I just reflected back on that just not recently. I thought, wow, that's interesting. My soul knew its path a long time ago.
Yeah, that's what, and I had no relationship to the architecture. And all these three books that has come now in just the last couple of months. It's like the architecture of light, the architecture of future medicine, the architecture of living ethos, and it's like, why is this architecture coming in everything? I didn't know if I went
Right.
10, 15, but it's like I said, it isn't here, it's birthed through me, so I call it being birthed, because this is like I have birthed children, so it feels like doing the same. And then when the book come true, it shows us how to live in the future.
Right. So it's structure. You see, that's why it's called architecture. It's structure.
It's structure, yeah.
And that's what the world needs right now. It needs new structures. We've got old structures and they're crumbling. They're
Yeah,
falling apart. They
they
don't
are.
work.
Yeah,
And so when you and I talk about the architecture, we're creating new architecture for the new future. And
yeah,
that's what's coming through both of us right now.
yeah. And I refer to the indigenous tribes, the indigenous, and also the Egyptian, because they hold it the same. So it's not that it's new. We are almost going back to what we have done so many years ago, and now we can intertwine it and do it again. I call it also to come in divine flow.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in those early aspects of human civilization, uh, I won't say we're going back to that. We're going back to those structures.
Yes, the way of thinking, kind of the way of relating to life, because the way we
Yes.
relate is very dogmatic.
Exactly. Exactly. We're going back to those structures, but we're not going back to that life. We're not going to live in the woods.
No, 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 but just the understanding that life is relational. We are in a relationship to our thoughts, our emotion, our habitat, our family. Life is relational.
That's totally relational.
Yeah, and that we are more than this body.
Yeah, you're totally relational, and therefore presence is so important. Being present for other people, as you know, because that's the foundation of relationship.
Yep.
Being present when you're with somebody, just to be present with them without actually allowing them and listening so that they feel your presence. And that in itself is transformational.
Yeah, it is. I love be a space holder, because it is like being in a movie. When I go to the cinema and watch it, when people come to me and do regression therapy, and they come up with all life, this life and past, it's like it is so amazing all that they come with, because there are so many stories and there are emotion there, because it is the emotion that does that we remember it. So it is so fascinating to. I love being a regression therapist and listening to all this that comes up, and it's kind of, oh no, I'm free. Wow. So yes, we become the safety holder for the new. So the new, and then they feel the same as us, because then we sense life. We are in relationship with everything.
That's interesting. That was a revelation to me. And my wife and I, we often watch drama on television, and we have a different reaction to it. See, uh, my wife will get so involved that she said, "I can't watch this anymore. I have to go." And and I say, "Well, no." I just say, "They're only actors." And so my what I'm watching is what you're watching when you're doing regression. I'm watching these things play out without necessarily getting involved, but seeing all of these human emotions and how they relate to one another. And I enjoy that in drama, I must say. Um, but and so I can stay detached, and that's what you must do when you do regression. You must stay detached, otherwise you're going to interfere with whatever's going on, and that's being present.
Yeah, and that was my kind of path because in the beginning when I did it, I helped a lot, but I couldn't stay attached, so I became sick myself. So I
Yeah,
carried the burdens. So working with people helped me a
yeah,
lot because they show me my own shadow. So working as a therapist and a doctor, it is actually when you understand that people that come to you, they actually hold a soul piece to you or a shadow piece to you, so that you can go inside and yeah. So we will understand it more in the future that okay, it is not random the people that comes to us.
no, not at all,
Not at all. No.
not at all. I'm amazed. I mean, the less I promote myself, I used to promote myself when I was in business quite a lot, and now I don't promote myself at all because I've inhabited the nothing space. And yet, I've noticed since I've been really engaged with nothing, more people come to me than ever before.
I've been really engaged with nothing. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it looks like we are supposed to collaborate because you say I will go into this for 15 years, and yeah, I will do it also all rest of my life because when you are there, it's like yeah, I the one of the book is the future architecture, the architecture of future medicine, and medicine is kind of my way working as a therapist and you also. So
Right.
I have always been interested in understanding how to heal, how to live a successful life, not in money but kind of living from the inner successful. So how could someone do that almost from they were a child and all their life is like being there, and someone really struggles. So that was my foundation when I was young. Also, since I had such a pain body, I took on and I took on and I took on, and yeah, and I didn't understand that that was what I did.
Mhm. And how did you discover that that's what you were doing?
When I started to study the health way, first of I worked with electronics for 10 years, and then after that I started to study becoming a social worker and more into health. And then I understood, and particularly when I start working with my shadows, then I understood it, why I was so exhausted all the time. And I hit rock bottom in 2013. Then it was totally rock bottom, and I prepared to die. And I died. So I lost all my friends. It was only one that stuck with me, but now they have come back. But when I was in this transformation, it was kind of yeah, it was hard, a lot of hard years, but that leaded me into the place I am now.
Yep. That's true. I think if you're a human being, you will always have some level of adversity in your life that you will have to go through. And
Yeah,
that adversity is a teacher,
yeah,
if you allow it to be.
yeah,
Because adversity comes at the survival level. And once you feel safe, then anything is possible. But until you feel safe, you can't really move forward. The energy field or the what do you call that? The nervous system
yeah.
has to feel safe
It has to feel safe.
so that you can progress. But if it doesn't feel safe, you just go back to old habits and old ways of being. So that was one of the things I've learned very much in the last few months about uh, the nervous system feeling safe is actually a precondition for personal growth.
Yeah, it is. The nervous system is so, and also the nervous system is talking to the DNA, and so the nervous system is kind of the interface between all. So yes, it is, and I have had a lot of prolapse in my back, a lot of pain. So I remember when I came to the point, it's like where I understood that it was so easy to heal myself when I just, and I became angry because it was like I have lived with pain for 40 years and it was so simple, because it is simple, but I needed to hack out of the old matrix. And I wasn't, it wasn't until 2013 that, so it's only 13 years since. So 13 years I started to die. And most of us, just hearing the word die or death is kind of frightening for us, because then we go into survival mode.
Yeah.
So I started to die, but my ego died.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's still there, but not in the fear-based sense, I say we don't have to kill off our ego. We just want to get rid of the fears of the ego.
We need ego, kind of, we need a structure. We cannot, all of us have a structure, but yeah, so it's the naming again.
Yeah. So everybody needs an ego to live in this world, but you don't need fear. And unfortunately, we've equated fear with ego, and it's true to a certain extent. But that's where we get to that safety. If the ego can understand that it's safe, then you can allow the soul to dominate.
Yeah. And that is what I have seen for the new kindergarten and the new school system. This will create safe space for the children, and then all the world will radically change. When we, and then the Nordic country will start to create safe space for children. So the one that wants to work in the kindergarten and school system, we ourselves must come where you and me are taught, this place. We have to be in this safe space. So the education to be a teacher will radically change, because first we need to come to safety in ourselves, then we can hold the safe space for the children. And this is more important than all other stuff that we teach them.
I agree, and it's the same for coaches too.
Yes. Yeah.
So even though I put do not disturb on my phone, my telephone is ringing.
Wow.
It ignored me.
Yeah, and you spoke to your phone, and I said, well, I haven't started to speak to my phone, but maybe I should, even you have catch up more into the technology than me. So maybe it is a sign that, okay, this conversation, but it was so interesting talking to you, and the similarity is kind of, wow. So we know that this is not our last call, to put it like that.
We do. Absolutely. So let's get ready for the next call.
Yes, so thank you, Richard. It was an honor to talk to you.
Thank you, same here.
If this conversation resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share this with whoever you feel that needs to hear it. Together, your support helps us sustain this work, bringing transformational wisdom into the world and nurturing the awakening of our shared foundation, Mother Earth. Thank you for listening to the Divine Design podcast with Ann-Peggy Divine. Join us next Sunday for another Heaven on Earth unfolding conversation. With grace, reverence, and unity, may the path of your divine design light the way. From the divine in us to the divine in you.